is still much lower. It's about $1,400 lower, even with ARRA, than the 1999 level. Now, what's the kind of growth in income shares that we are likely to see under ARRA? Now, all the quintiles here gain under the ARRA. Those are those bars which are above the zero line, except the top one. The top quintile actually loses their share of aggregate income, but this is hardly a compensation for the income gains that they enjoy, or the income gains that the bottom 80% suffered during the period of 99 through 2007. As you can see, the only group which experiences an increase in their share of income is the ones at the very top. So now let me say that the overall assessment is that that the stimulus package will only have a modest effect on preventing or slowing down the decline in median household income and reversing the income gains that has so disproportionately gone to the rich in the recent past. So what can be done to improve things for the working people in this country by the current administration? I think they need to think and think different. Let me explain. The main focus of the ARRA and the stimulus package so far has been, especially with respect to the government purchases, has been aimed at the infrastructure. Principally, we are talking about highway construction and public transit. This is definitely needed, but they are hardly sufficient to meet the estimated deficits in American infrastructure. The report card that's shown here on this slide is from the American Society of Civil Engineers, and you can see the grades are pretty low. The overall grade is about D for American infrastructure, and the required amount, I mean, even adjusting for the fact that there is some self-interest here, that is of the American Civil Society for improving, civil engineers for improving infrastructure, is about $2.2 trillion over the next 5 years. If you compare that to the estimate, our estimate of the infrastructure provisions in ARRA, it's only about $80 billion. So it's a puny amount. So we need to think big to tackle the infrastructure deficit. The vast improvement that took place in American infrastructure following the initiation of major public works program in the 1930s is a worthy precedent to consider here, I would submit. Between the period of between 1933 and 1940, the government directly employed about 3 million people annually on average during that period. Now compare that to the estimated job gain, that is direct, indirect, everything combined, estimate of the job creation that's supposed to happen under ARRA, that comes to only about 2.1 million jobs per year. So it's much smaller. Now, infrastructure is important, physical infrastructure, but there is also, and I will end with this, the social care deficit is also very important in America. And that's the other aspect of job creation, and where we need to think different and go beyond infrastructure and green jobs. The job creation potential of social care is grossly neglected in most policy discussions. This is unfortunate because there are serious deficits in social care, such as early childhood education, home-based care for the elderly. These deficits, like deficits in the physical infrastructure, impose palpable economic and social costs. The other reason why this neglect is unfortunate is that the job creation potential of social care spending is much bigger on a dollar-to-dollar basis than that in green jobs or in infrastructure. And I show the results of our simulation using our model for a comparison of social care and infrastructure. The numbers for green energy, I took it from a 2009 study done at the Perry, at the Political Economic Research Institute in Massachusetts. But what it shows is that social care generates more jobs and it creates more jobs for the least educated. So it's more equitable and efficient. To sum up, the current stimulus package is insufficient relative to the size of the employment problem and relative to the glaring deficits in physical infrastructure and social infrastructure. A second stimulus package is definitely needed with a two-pronged strategy which addresses the task of providing immediate relief to the unemployed and addressing the more structural problems of employment crisis in this country. Thank you very much.
So good afternoon, everyone. And I'd like to talk a little bit about the impact of the crisis on racial economic inequality, on the Kansas City region, but just to remind ourselves of what the downturn looked like. Began in early 2008, really in the third quarter of 2008 into 2009. This is the annual unemployment rate for the Kansas City, Missouri, Kansas metropolitan statistical area, and you can see that there is an increase in unemployment in 2008, but the big increase comes in 2009. My argument is that African Americans bear a disproportionate share of the negative impacts of the economic downturn. So you see, I'm going to focus here on the first year of the downturn. So you see from 2007 to 2008, in Wyandotte County, this is Kansas City, Kansas, the percentage of whites below the poverty line actually went down, and while African Americans increased dramatically. In terms of food stamps, also Wyandotte County, white households receiving food stamps went down, while African American households increased. Male unemployment from 2007 to 2008 in Wyandotte County. White male unemployment went down 0.1 percentage point, while the black male unemployment rate increased several. This is Jackson County, this is Kansas City, Missouri. Also, white male unemployment went down and black male unemployment went up. This is in the whole statistical area. White male unemployment went down, black male unemployment went up. Female unemployment, white went down. Black female unemployment also went down, but by a smaller amount, absolutely and relatively. Here's racial profiling in Kansas City in 2009. This is interesting because you can see the search rate among African Americans is much higher, as is the arrest rate, but the contraband hit rate is actually higher among whites. I assume everyone understands what those. Contraband hit rate. Blacks get searched more often, they get arrested more often, but if you are searched, it is more likely that they will find something if you're white. That means they hit on finding contraband. Okay. That was in Kansas City, Missouri. Same thing in Clay County, Missouri. Blacks have a higher search rate. Blacks have a higher arrest rate. Whites have a higher contraband hit rate.